Big Ed here. Today we have a Russian Mosin Nagan 9130. This rifle was originally built in Russia in 1891 and it was modified again in 1930. That's why this model right here is called a 9130. There's a lot of other variants of this rifle, and a lot of other countries use this rifle because it was so good and so proficient, very reliable, powerful, also long range rifle. They made a lot of carbines of this. They made a sniper version of this where they drilled and tapped the scope, hung either a 3.5 or a 4 times power scope off these, and made very effective sniper rifles off of these. And basically, if you look at the top sniper charts, of who has the most kills, it's all these Mosins right here. Basically, hold all most of the top positions right here. And this particular rifle is built in 1932. You can see stamped right there, and you can see the star right there on the top. That's the Tula factory in Russia that it was made in, right here. But very cool, and you can so we'll go over some of the features right now on the rifle. Again, it's chambered in 7.62 by 54R. The R actually stands for rimmed. It shoots a rimmed cartridge. You can see the way the sights are. This is just straight iron sights in this rifle right here, and it basically lifts up, and you slide this, and that'll get your, obviously tilt the butt down and the tip of the barrel up, and get some arc in the bullet so you can shoot longer range. So it goes all the way up to 2,000 yards. I'm going to guess that's pretty inaccurate out there, 2,000 yards. I'm guessing the effective range of this rifle probably somewhere around 1,000 yards with a scope on it, and less with the iron sights. But I had this out on the range, and I put up a 8-inch target. One of those targets where it punches and you can see it through, and I could get most of my, at 100 yards, I was getting most of my rounds in that target, and I was really happy with that. I mean, out of the box, wiped the Cosmoline off, and they're pretty good. But also there was 80 million of these made, so they're quite prevalent. There's a lot of these around. I'm going to say a few years ago you could pick these up for $100. I bought this at Bud's Gun Shop online and had this transferred to New York State, this particular rifle right here, and this was in excellent condition. It was $10 more than the very good condition one, so I figured that was a good $10 to spend, and I am very happy with it. And the history of this is quite cool. I mean, this rifle was a small arms right here that defeated the German army when they invaded Russia, through those 2 cold winters there, and this is what the Russian troops used to defeat them. Very powerful, good repeating rifle. Let's talk about the round it shoots right now. This is the round it shoots right here, and this is 7.62 by 54 rimmed. We'll compare it to some other rounds right here. I have all empty ones right here. There's a 7.62 by 54 rimmed. This is the round I think it's the most familiar with. This is a 243 Winchester right here, but it's basically a 308 neck down. So it's basically a 308 cartridge right there. And you can see those are very similar, and that's what I figure it's the most equivalent to. I've looked at some of the numbers of muzzle energy, the velocities or trajectories, and I think for the most part it's similar to a 308. And this is a 30-06 I have next. 30-06 is going to be a little more powerful, and 30-06 is a little more powerful than a 308. Not much more, probably 10% max on the muzzle energy at most, probably a little less. But it's very effective, and just the way it works right here, it's pretty simple. This is your safety right here. The safety is pretty useless on these, actually. Not useless, but it's about probably 20 pounds of force. That's in safe condition right there, where the bolts lock back, and it's in full battery. And then and you have to pull on that about 20 pounds. I'm a big guy and I'm pretty strong, so that's about 20 pounds of force to put back on the bolt right there to get the safety engaged right there. And the bolt works very nicely. It's very cool. And to release the bolt, basically you just pull the trigger and the bolt slides right out. Bolt's a little complicated on it. You know, a few different pieces there, but it works very well. And you can see the machining marks on this. This is kind of interesting. You know, I'm not going to go over all the history today about these rifles, but the machining marks on it is interesting. Basically, you know, coming up to World War II, they rushed some of these rifles, you know, and a lot of them to try to get more of them out, you know, so they weren't building them they're building them quicker, and they're leaving a lot of machine marks in them, you know, to obviously get them out to troops to defend Mother Russia. But very cool. So basically, my thoughts on this modern day rifle, you know, it's not going to be totally accurate. You know, this isn't going to beat a brand new even I would say a Savage Axis, one of those new Remington 770s or the 783s, I think are the brand new ones. You're going to get better accuracy, but this rifle wins bang for the buck. With the history of this, I mean, most of these you're never going to find out the history of them. You know, there's a lot of cool markings on this over the time. There's a little M right there and another Tula star next to it. You know, they have a lot of cool markings, and this is a numbers matching gun right here. I have the serial number taped off. But you can see the 162 right there. It's another 162 on the magazine plate back there. 162 on the butt plate, on the bolt. And then also on the barrel and the receiver right there, 162. So it is a numbers matching gun. But these have great bang for the buck right here, and I had a lot of fun shooting this at the range. Just a ton of fun. It's got some recoil. You wouldn't want to give this to a novice shooter. You know, it's going to have the punch of a 308, 30-06. You know, some of those common 30 caliber cartridges, and that's also nice. It is a 30 caliber gun. But a lot of fun to shoot, and it is reliable. The thing works and it shoots. It's cool, and people do make fun of these and just you know, and it's not gonna, you know, print a 1-inch group at 100 yards. I don't think. I think the best I've ever heard of these things shooting, it's a good one, is maybe 2 inches, maybe 1.5 inches. I don't know if this one will shoot that. I'm not gonna put a scope on it. I kind of want to just keep it the way it is. I like the iron sights. It's just cool, and I'm not really don't plan on shooting this a whole bunch. I kind of bought this for an investment. I see the prices rising on these. You know, I believe a lot of gun purchases are investments. You know, an investment you can use and have fun with, or hunt with, or defend your home with, but also an investment because you can keep this. And just 3 or 4 years ago, this was a $100 rifle. Now this rifle is $170. So it's obviously gone up in value, and I think it is going to go up in value more. So yeah, but as far as shooting it, it's got some kick to it, which I like. It's a lot of fun to shoot. I like working the bolt. I've got this new kind of thing for bolt guns where, you know, just shooting the rifle and working the bolt's a lot of fun. And in one way, it's more fun than a semi-automatic rifle because you're more involved with the rifle. You know, you're feeling how it works. You can feel that round chamber. You know, as you're cycling it, you can feel the empty brass pop out, and it does have some real nice positive ejection, which I was really surprised. It really flips that brass up a good 3-4 feet up in the air and drops it kind of right down to the right of your shooting position. But you know, it makes it easy to find, and it's nice that it has a positive ejection because some bolt guns do not, but this one definitely does. Also, the floor plate on this drops out too, and you can see the spring right there. It's attached to it, so you can empty the gun out safely. You know, if you load it up, that happened to me twice actually at the range, where I loaded it up and went to shoot it, and they honked their horn for the ceasefire to go change your targets. But that floor plate popping out is really nice. You don't have to, you know, chamber them or dig them out of there some funny way to get them out of there. You just drop them out the bottom of the rifle. But for the money, for $170, and I'm seeing these on Cheaper Than Dirt for as cheap as I want to say $140 now. But for the money, you can't go wrong with this thing. It's a ton of fun to shoot. But if you're gonna want something to print tight groups at a range, you're better off with whether it be a Remington 1100, a bolt, an X bolt, you know, etc., a modern day bolt gun. But for the money, I don't think that this is, you know, you can't afford not to have this in your collection if you like firearms. The other thing I think this might be good for too is a gift. You know, something to appreciate and value an investment. You know, you can get the spam can with it. The spam can's a great investment. It's 440 rounds of 54R ammunition, and it's corrosive, so you got to clean the gun after every use. But you could give that to somebody for a gift, or I bought one for myself, and I just put it in the safe. And I don't plan on using that actually, because I bought this gun not with the intention of shooting it a lot, but just shooting it, you know, a few times and getting the knack of it, and realizing what it was all about, and then kind of just putting it away for storage and just as a keepsake. And I think the history behind it's really cool, you know, and there's a ton of history on the internet. And I encourage people to go on the internet and to read about them, all the different variants of this, the carbines where they cut them down for like the you know the cavalry in the back, and you know, people, you know, running tanks, people running, you know, heavy artillery, so they had something to protect themselves with, but also a lighter, handier, more maneuverable firearm, you know. And they did make some of these designed for urban combat. I don't think they saw much, but you know, as far as you know, but they are cool, and you can get these in real high grades, you know, originally from Russia, you know, with the scopes mounted on them, you know, original condition like that. Those are expensive. Those will probably run up to, you know, $600-700 depending on where you look. But I mean, there's a lot of collectors, you know, looking out for these. The MO versions are cool, but I mean, there are a bunch of these, but I can't recommend this more for the money. But it is, you know, you're not going to get modern bolt action accuracy with these. You have the power, and I think it's a good hunting rifle. The scope, you're good for hundreds of yards. But that's the other thing. I wouldn't be afraid to shoot at any animal in North America with the right bullet, you know, with a soft nosed bullet. Any animal in North America with this rifle at 100 yards or less, with the iron sights on it. You know, maybe a little farther. I wouldn't push it. I mean, I was grouping about 8 inches with the iron sights. Maybe a couple of them came out, but I could get. It's getting 90% of my shots in an 8-inch circle at 100 yards. So this is a good hunting rifle, and this with this power right here, this is I would say any animal in North America you could hunt with this. The interesting thing is also when you buy these firearms, they're covered in this stuff called Cosmoline. You have to get that all up. That's nasty stuff. It's kind of like a harder, stickier Vaseline, but you know, it comes clean, but it preserved these from you know, from after World War II, and they, you know, butter them all up with this stuff and stored them and shipped them, and you know, and this one's mine, and but yeah, I can't recommend them enough, and very cool. And these are the sling attachments right here. That's what these little holes are for. The guns, most of these come with a sling. They come with a bayonet that wraps around the front sight. It just slides on, you know, clicks about 90 degrees to get around the front sight, and that's your bayonet. They come with little oil cans and a bunch of other little odd and end fittings right here. This right here is your cleaning rod that comes with the firearm, you know, to swab the barrel. I'm trying to think of what else I can tell you about it. Also, they make a lot of modifications of these. I think that you can find these. What I've read and seen other videos online, Iraqi veteran 8888 has some excellent videos online. I think he's talked about shooting some, you know, 2-inch groups at 100 yards, which is, in my opinion, that's really accurate. You know, it's not a 1-inch or sub-MOA group, but it's good enough, more than good enough for hunting. And that a lot of people are basically just taking the actions out of these, and you can get an Archangel stock, like let's say for an example, and you can put a magazine in this firearm, you know, have a removable magazine and have something, you know, with an adjustable stock on it, you know, with a vertical piece for a good cheek, you know, to adjust your cheek weld on it. And there are a lot of things on here. You can put modern scopes on here. You can also get reproductions of the World War II versions of the scope that you can hook onto these receivers. Oh, that was the other thing too, is you'll see a lot of variants right here. This is a round receiver right here on this firearm, and there are hex. It was cheaper to manufacture the round ones, but it used to be a hex head on these, and those are more valuable and considered a little stronger. The way this is built, this is some pretty serious steel in this rifle, and it's got some heft to it. It is not a light gun. You know, I believe this barrel's 28 inches on this one, or is it 27.5 or 28? But it gives it some heft, so I think it's 8.2 pounds if I can remember correctly. You know, all the sights are iron on it. It's just steel, and it's got some heft to it. But you know, I mean, for a budget gun, you know, with that spam cam, you know, $140 for one of these, and the spam cam for $90, you know, 440 rounds, you can have a lot of fun with that. Just make sure you have a good cleaning kit to get that corrosive residue out of the firearm. But Yeah, very cool, and it's got a good thump to it with the recoil. I enjoyed shooting it a lot. It's definitely cool, and the work the bolt is very cool, but also reliable too. I didn't have any failure feeds, any double feeds, any failures to eject or any of that stuff, and it didn't beat up the brass either. It was I noticed that, and the brass was actually clean. It has a pretty good gas seal, which I was surprised about. I mean, it is a bolt gun, so it's not like a semi-auto, you know. Seems like the semi-auto brass gets a little dirtier, but I noticed when the brass was coming out, it was still clean. Like, this is once fired brass. I didn't clean it. That's a pretty clean piece of brass right there. It's not all smoked up, but I was pretty impressed with that. And I guess that's probably about it with this. But you know, I'm not gonna do any shooting with it. I on video, because I have to shoot this at the range. Unfortunately, we're in New York State, and you can only shoot rifles on ranges. So I wasn't able to get any video, and it was just too loud. Way too many other guns going off there. It was just crazy at the range. The last two times I've been up there with this, but very cool. Mosin Nagant. Look for the other models of these carbines. You know, you can get them with the shorter barrels, with the scopes already, you know, drilled in tap form. But definitely very cool. But thanks for watching, folks.